Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 29th, 2022 at approximately 5:55 p.m. BST. We are looking at a world that is right in the middle of massive throes of change. The question you have to ask is, are you going to be focusing on the positive change or on the negative one? The choice is yours. Now, I was sent back to this life. I came back here to pass on one simple message, and that is that working together, we can make this a better world for most people. This, however, is not a one-person job. Okay, every entity in existence is going to have to pitch in. Now, you can have your differences. Okay, I mentioned this yesterday. I think it was yesterday. The focus was on truckers helping from all walks of life, working together towards one common goal. Now, I'm going to bring another group of people together that work together from every walk of life. And these are your grocers, the people that are handling the big grocery stores, the ones that are handling your little corner grocery stores. These people come from every single walk of life, the world around. Whether we're talking about so-called first world countries or we're talking about so-called third world. There are people, now I'm going to say the grocers, but in all fairness, I'm actually referring to the farmers first. Okay, the people that grow the food. Now, it's a wonderful thing to look at all the luxuries. I heard an absolutely bizarre comment in a grocery store one day. Heard somebody, she was very much vegan and vegetarian, which is really kind of entertaining when you think the human race is actually omnivorous. Okay, but that notwithstanding, okay, you want to be vegetarian, that's great, but this particular person made a comment that was absolutely bizarre. She literally told me, hunting should be banned because, everybody should have to get their food from grocery stores where animals are not killed. Now, when you think about this, if you don't desire meat, that's great. But hunting itself has been the backbone. Hunting and farming has been the backbone of civilization as far as foodstuffs goes for centuries. Okay. Well, in all fairness, for millennia. Now, with that in mind, you've got your farmers from all kinds of walks of life, from all kinds of historical backgrounds. I've even heard tales of people that have gotten into really high-paying jobs and decided they'd had enough of the rat race. They turned around and went back to farming. Now, farming is not an easy life. And then you have your grocers that take all the incoming food, all the incoming food from the farms. Okay, and organize it so you don't have to go out and get your hands dirty in the garden. Now, I know growing up, I used to garden all the time. Now I couldn't grow things if I wanted to. For whatever reason, that doesn't work for me. But the farmers and the grocers are coming from every single walk of life. They are on what people call the lower economic scale. Well, they're on the lower economic scale because you put them there. Okay, it's amazing. In Canada, and I can't give you prices, okay, because I just pay what I have to. But in Canada, vegetables cost a staggering amount, and candy bars are cheap. From what I gather, in England, it's the other way around. Now, the farmers are the ones that are growing the vegetables for you. They're the ones that keep you healthy. Because I will tell you, notice every time your health gets out of hand, aside from the doctor, the first thing that anybody tells you is get off the junk food. Okay. But the farmers are the ones that are doing the work to grow that food. They do the majority of the work. The truckers ship that to the grocery stores. And I don't know about you, but for me, I don't like leaving the house much. So going to a grocery store and having all of the stuff I require available, those are the people that really need a hand. Okay, whether you like the politics of what's going on with whether you have to wear a mask or not, the grocers are the ones that you really have to thank for collecting all that food into one place. Okay, now again, these people come from every walk of life. Look in any country, any nationality, and you will find the same thing. These people gather food from various different locations, bring it up and bring it to the area for you, and then lay it out and go, okay, I'm willing to sell it. I'm going to get paid for my efforts, but I'm going to sell it so you don't have to go out and dig it up. Now, for me, this is a great idea, but it does show that these grocers, the farmers, the grocers, are doing a staggering job of trying to keep us all fed. Now, if you think about it, one farmer, you know, they could live. I mean, the family I grew up with, 8 of us, grew up in a home where I think we had about a quarter acre garden that supplied us for the year, plus a little bit of hunting from Dad. Okay, these farmers spend their days out in the field, a lot of hard work, tilling the ground, growing literally acres of food for you. Okay, and then they send it out, and they let you, and they sell it through various directions. They eventually get to the grocer where you can get it. But people look down on farmers so much because they don't have a lot of money. Well, they don't have a lot of money because they're spending it making sure they can provide you with food for a very minimal price. You really want to thank the farmers. If you happen to have a lot of money, absolutely. I'm sure they would love a hand by somebody paying for the work that they're doing, paying more than what they're making. But it's becoming harder and harder for the farmers to actually make a living. Therefore, people talk about, well, I don't want the government to own all the farmland. Well, then quit driving the prices up. Okay, it's literally that simple. It's black and white. Now, I may be oversimplifying it. I am not an economics major. I look at things in a very black and white issue. If you're charging too much for the person to survive, then frankly, they're going to have to get out of it. Now, we have to look at the fact that grocers come from every walk of life. Okay, and I am going to have to pause that for just a Okay, I'm back. Like I was saying, when we're looking at the grocers, they come from every walk of life. Okay, some of them are major chains, some are just little corner stores. But the reality is they have come from every nationality in every country. There are people that work as middlemen between the farmers and the grocers, or between the farmers and the people. These are people, again, that are working with each other, regardless of their backgrounds, in order to make this world a better place for virtually everybody. Now, you got to realize, the thing with grocers is a farmer will produce a few different items, and I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of it. I'm not a professional farmer, and thankfully, I don't have to be. Okay, but the convenience that I have that they provide by doing the farming for me, by growing the vegetables for me, or by raising the animals. Okay, they each grow a couple of different things themselves, or raise a couple of different things. They get collected by the grocers, by the butchers, so that we don't have to. Okay, and people have a tendency of undervaluing that kind of service. Okay, people are like, I watch the internet where people are talking about video games, and you end up with hundreds of thousands of followers, and more power to them. All the power that they want. But the reality is, if you were to take a farmer that were to go on the air and show people how to simply plant a row of corn. Just simply plant it and make it grow properly. Okay, this is the knowledge that will make things happen in the future. We get one simple EMP pulse, okay, or one simple power failure, and all of a sudden, we're hooked. Okay, the farmers, it's hard work, absolutely, but it is so undervalued. These are the people that, again, show us that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, and the grocers do a phenomenal job of bringing that food together, but it's extremely undervalued, and in my opinion, underpaid. Okay, now there's an old saying, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Now, I write a lot, and I do the video broadcast. But for me, I'm still sitting on my tail feathers. It's not physically hard, it's mentally draining on occasion. Okay, but I wouldn't be able to do that. What I'm doing right now, I could not do if it weren't for farmers and grocers putting food in a place where I can go and get it without a major problem, without a major chunk of work. For those of you that spend your time playing on the computers, and I do mean playing, I'm not talking about the ones of you that are out there programming. Although the ones that are programming are still ultimately sitting down, you're working your brain to the bone, and it's not easy work. Okay, but when we're looking at the grocers bring people in. Okay, they bring people in to grow the food. They bring people in to pick the food or to harvest the food, and they bring people in to ship it over to the grocers so the grocers can move it around. Okay, who also have to hire a staggering number of people to sort the chunking of the truckloads of food coming in. This is not easy work. Okay, and I see so many times people go into a grocery store and they start complaining to the grocers about the food. Well, try going out and finding it at the farms. That ought to be fun. Okay, I wouldn't want to try and track down where all the food is that I end up getting a chance to eat. Even if I were to stick to just things like milk, cheese, or milk, eggs, and beef. Okay, those three things. Okay, yeah, you can get them from one place. But I wouldn't want to have to go out to the farm to find it. Although this year I'm thinking I might go try and track one down. I'm in Kelowna, BC. And I think I'm going to go looking for a farmer that I can actually buy a side of beef directly from. Cut out the middleman altogether if I can. I just don't know where in Kelowna I'm going to find one. Okay, whether it's in Kelowna or whether it's out in Lake Country, which is north of me by about 15 minutes, I don't know. But I'm going to go and see what I can do about finding it, I think. And bypass the rest of it. Okay, because again, the reality is I'm a bit of a dinosaur. Okay, I still, my entire database of numbers and what have you is still on this. Still on cardstock. Impossible to hack. Absolutely impossible to hack with a computer. But do understand, when we're looking at working together, farmers, when you're looking at the grocers, give some cultures a real bad time about the fact they come from a culture and they're opening a grocery store, convenience store. Well, the reality is they're called a convenience store, and my personal opinion is, yeah, there is in a lot of ways there is one culture that actually tends to pick it up, but that's not stopping anybody else from doing it. If you're not happy with a given culture opening a convenience store in your area, open a convenience store yourself. It's not an easy job. Okay, it is not a well-paid job most of the time. Okay, But it is a very worthwhile job and a very necessary one. And it's one that we as people on the whole tend to overlook. People do not appreciate, in my opinion, the amount of work that goes into providing all that food in place. Okay, so it really is time that we start looking at each other and going, okay, are these industries actually a problem? Like the number of people I've talked to that have gone, oh, immigrants are coming in or the transient workers are coming in, they're taking our jobs. I had one person that I talked to just last summer. He was absolutely vehemently against the fact that people were coming into the Kelowna area and were stealing our jobs. The jobs he was complaining about was picking apples. Right. And, because it doesn't pay extremely well, at least not from what I gather. But I asked him, I says, well, do you want to pick apples? He goes, well, no. I says, then he's not stealing your job. Okay, he's not even competing for your job. He's doing something that you just plain don't want to do. So why complain about it? The grocers, yeah, some of them get a little carried away with the prices, in my opinion. Okay, but I don't know what their overhead looks like. And I've got a very simple rule. For me personally, it's just a question of if I don't like the price, I won't pay it. And I just won't buy there. But I won't yell at the grocer, okay, that the price is too high. I sometimes ask about what's going on, especially when I see some of the sales going on. But the thing we have to remember about the grocers, about the farmers, these are the people that keep people alive. Okay, these are the people that keep people breathing long enough to actually get to the doctor if they actually have to have help. Okay, and it's time we start recognizing these people. It's time we realize that, we talk about the first responders. If there's an accident, if there's a serious problem, here we are. Well, here's the thing people overlook. The real first responders that are really badly overlooked are the farmers and the grocers. These are the guys that are stepping up to the plate and going, I'm going to respond to your hunger before it becomes a problem. Now, you want a first responder. There's a first responder. And rest assured, from everything I gather, they're not making much money either. The thing is, I never have been materialistic. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say never. There was one point, but that was not the story. Okay, but money to me has never been the driving factor. Okay, even when I've been behind the 8 ball with finances. Oh, and that reminds me. That's just a little bit of a sidetrack, but what the heck. Let me see here. I just got to open this one file up, that one, and go back to that. And yes, for the 5th month in a row, I've managed to attain more. I hit it. I put a financial goal I was planning on hitting. I hit that goal again, and I always move it up a little. Okay, that's just a side note for you. Where it comes to farmers, where it comes to the grocers, understand they are what you're paying for is the wage, which quite frankly, quite often the staff is being underpaid in my opinion, but again, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. I don't know what the overhead is, but what you're paying, what the price of the food is you're paying for not only the grocer's overhead, as in their utilities, their bills, their staff. Okay, you're also paying for the cost that for the food they've actually bought from the farmers. Okay, and by doing that, okay, you're keeping people employed. Money doesn't do a bit of good for you if it sits in the bank, unless you're aiming it down the road, trying to have money to survive down the road. But that's why you're paying the price. Okay, and those grocers, those are your first responders where it comes to your future needs. Those needs being food and drink. And yes, snack food and munchies does fall into that. Okay. They're also the people that supply your alcohol and your alcohol and your cigarettes. And in today's world, your cannabis. These are all types of grocers that are doing the running around for you and bringing it to a convenient place. Now, they call the little shops on the corner, they call those convenience stores. I take a look at the mega chains and I call those convenience stores because for me, it's more convenient to go there than it is for me to try and find all the food myself. And certainly easier than my trying to make it. Trust me, you don't want me doing the cooking. So we take a look at this situation, and the grocers. These are your first responders. They are responding even to your hunger, even before you feel the hunger. Okay. And by the way, this all ties together. I was talking about the truckers the other day. You got that many people in a convoy, and you've got you're cutting that many people out of delivery, which means delivery lines are going to take longer. You may have shortages on the grocery shelves. Okay, screaming at the grocer because they've got a low supply because they didn't get a shipment in today. Okay, this convoy is taking place in literally the dead of winter. Okay, now travel is inherently difficult in the winter anyway. We have this other major issue going on, and the grocery stores are going to have shortages on occasion. Sometimes you won't find what you're looking for, but screaming at the grocer is not going to make that easier, and certainly not going to make them feel better. Okay, you'll also run into the same problem if deliveries can't be made. The grocers are absolutely the ones that we rely on. Even restaurants, I've seen this more often than I care to count. They try and bring stock in and make sure they've got it, but if they run out of stock, they run down the street and they grab what they ran out of from the grocer. Okay, this is why I said these people are all working together, every single one of them. Okay, and whether you like it or not, the people that are working to build things like this computer I'm talking on are working with everybody else. Okay, these are simple examples when people say people cannot work together. What I'm pointing out here is you're already working together, but you've got to realize that that's exactly what you're doing. Okay, even the most well-known superstar politician, legal advisor, Hollywood star, it doesn't matter. They are all, and this also includes, by the way, your most advanced, your most well-known religious leader. They are all working with the same situations. All of these people still require the grocers. Okay. They are no better than the pauper on the street. No better at all. They may look better, they may have better clothing, they may have better toys, but they themselves are only as good as they treat the people around them. When you go into a grocery store, remember, this is not a place to pick something up and go, oh, you put it in your basket and then you decide, oh, I don't want it. So you set it somewhere else. Okay. Understand, when you go in there, you desire the place to be organized so you can find what you're looking for. It takes a lot of work to organize that and to keep it organized so that you can do that. Okay. But the thing you got to remember is when you're walking in, okay, treat people the way you desire to be treated. Treat them with respect. The grocers do a staggeringly good job of keeping food available for us so we don't have to go running around the country trying to find it. So you can have a wide variety of what you like to eat. Okay, and this is something people are overlooking. But it's also a very clear example of people working together to make this a better world for most people. However, it does require acknowledgement. It's imperative we treat each other properly. And by the way, the big chains, Absolutely, carry on using them. But I will tell you, if you're going to complain about the big chains that are there, go to the smaller grocery stores. You may not have the same variety of food because smaller grocery stores, number one, don't have access to it, and number two, they quite often have a bigger problem where it comes to overhead. Okay, so you may find the prices a little, but like I don't go to the big grocery stores. I don't go to the big chains. Okay, I go to the little local ones. So when I'm talking, this is why I say the tools I offer and the philosophies I live by are the ones that I'm putting forth. I'm not telling you don't go to them, and meanwhile you find me hopping around in the big chains. Okay, I will literally bypass a giant big chain to go to a little store because to me that is the way to help the community grow. Now, there's a couple of things about that. Your smaller chains, very, very badly undervalued. But understand if you've got a business, especially, okay, but if you're buying from a big chain where the head office is several cities away, the primary amount of money that's going into that store is likely going back wherever the head office is. In a local grocery store, in a convenience store, you spend money in that store prospers, and the people working in that store spend more money, spend the same money back in the same community. Okay, again, it boils down to you're feeding, you're buying food from them. They go over to your business and buy food from you, and buy stuff from you, or get vehicle services. Okay. The reality is, this is a prime example of working together to make certain that this world becomes a better place. But it's going to take all of us. Okay. Now it took a long time to get to the disaster that we have for our world today. It's going to take a long time to get back. But it can be done. It's going to require work. It is not an immediate gratification thing. Okay, aside from you want immediate gratification, take a look at your kitchen. The dishes aren't done. Do the dishes, and immediately your kitchen's done. Okay, but changing society is going to take a lot of work. Okay, this disaster we've been running for the last couple of years has simply brought to light the imperativeness that we start recognizing the people that are already working towards this reunification. Okay, the people that are already putting the effort in. Now, I'm going to bring this to a close. I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.